All right, we are recording. Right, so today we will discuss about the storage portfolio. Right, until today's lecture, we were typically focusing on setting up EC2 instances, able to work on a highly available environment, able to mitigate single point of failure. Right, we figured out self-healing and auto-scaling and a couple of other things. So for our journey, smooth sailing. Right, today we're gonna focus on storages. Now, there are three types of storage services that are available through AWS. The first is a block storage, the second is file, and third is object. Right? So under block storage, there are two types of storages that are available. One is EBS, which is persistent. Second is instant store, which is a non-persistent storage. Now, the difference between persistent and non-persistent are if your machine is shut down, nothing will happen to your data. Your data is intact and saved. In non-persistent or instant store, if you shut down your machine, all the data will be lost. That is the first difference. The difference number two is your EBS. Your EBS, right? It's a storage area network. In outside world, we know this as SAN, storage area network. In AWS, we know this as elastic block storage. Both are same. The nomenclature is different. That's it, right? So what it means is a storage is presented to a VM over a network. A storage is presented to a VM over a network is called EBS, or also known as SAN outside AWS world, right? So this is little slower because it has to travel over a network. But however, the instant store is the fastest drive. Though when you shut down your machine, the data will be lost. In spite of being the drawback, this is the super fast drive. When the machine is running, when you use this drive, it is extremely fast. Why this is fast? This is very close to memory and processor, and therefore this drive is a local drive within the server. Right? In spite of having its drawback, it also has its own advantage also. Third thing is your EBS will always be root volume. This will always be your primary volume no matter what, and your instant store will be always your secondary volume. Right? Now, while creating EC2 instances, half a dozen times we have created both Windows and Linux machine. We did our labs, right? We saw EBS. We saw EBS, which gave 10, 20, 30 GB if it is a Linux machine. Windows, we gave 30, we added 10 later, right? So we saw the EBS, but we did not see the instant store, right? So let me show you where you can go and explore that. So when I go to my instances over here, right, I'll go to EC2 and I'm going to click on launch instance here, right? Any AMI you can select. And once I scroll down, right, all the storage says EBS only, EBS only. However, only there are certain category of instances that supports instant store, and these are the machines that you have, right? So for example, if I select this 3, right, it will give me 2 terabyte into 3 drives, right? Configure instance detail, add storage, and if you see here, I have 3 instance drive. I can add EBS here, right? One more EBS, but only 3 instance store. And if you see in case of EBS, you have an opportunity to select a size. You can shrink down, you can scale up, whatever you want, whatever the desired quantity of the storage space that you need, you can allocate here. But instant store, if you see there, you take it or leave it situation. You either take it or you leave it. You cannot squeeze down. You cannot say that I want out of 2 terabyte of instant store, give me 1 terabyte. You cannot take like that, right? So I can also remove it. I can say I don't want 2, I would rather want 1, and you can select 1. And then if you see here, this will be populating back over here also. You can add it here, something like this. Following me so far? And instant stores are available here. Are you guys clear? Are we clear, guys? So far, let's continue further. Right. Now the second type of storage is called EFS. EFS is stands for Elastic File Server, which is also known as network attached storage outside AWS world. And this is a remote storage. This is a remote storage, right? A storage is given to a VM over a network. So you have a storage that is given to a VM over a network, right? But what is the difference between an EFS and EBS? EBS will be a root volume because it's a block storage, right? And EFS is not a block storage, it is just a file share. And EFS also cannot be a primary volume. It always can be secondary volume, like instant store, right? But it is not as fast as instant store. It is slower than instant store because it has to travel over a network. But the advantage here is in case of instant store and EBS, right? You can only add the storage to only one running machine. You cannot connect the same storage to multiple instances. But if you have a desire that you have 10 machines, but they have to talk to a centralized storage, or a centralized storage is what you desire to use, EFS is an option that you take. So you can use EFS and you can mount it to multiple machines. And all the machines can store the information centralizedly, right? And when the machines are stopped or terminated, there is no effect to data. Your data is protected and saved. That is file server or your EFS. Now the third option that you see is an object storage, right? So what happens is Google Drive, right? Dropbox, OneDrive. If you use those storages, right, and then if you save your data there, what will happen is Google can read the data even if it is in a scan format, whether it's your holiday photos or your mask cards, right? I have a habit of scanning everything that I have. I've scanned my 10th standard, my graduation mask cards, passport, PAN card, driving license, right, birth certificate, everything I have scanned it and I have kept it. Everything that I have scanned it and I have kept it, right, in my Google Drive. So one day what happened last month, May, I think, Google congratulated me on my graduation day and I was surprised. How did Google know? Google can now differentiate what is exactly in the scan image. It can differentiate the scan image as a photo or a mask card, right? So the advantage of AWS object storage here is any form of data that you put, Amazon will only see this as ones and zeros. It cannot understand if it is a video file. It cannot understand if it's an audio file or an image or a document. No, everything you put here, it will see ones and zeros, right? So what happens is you have a pen drive, your friend will give you a pen drive. It will have some movies, it will have some videos, audios, documentation and other thing. As soon as you plug this pen drive to your laptop, your operating system can quickly recognize the type of file and it will know that these are the video files and these are the audio files. Your operating system is intelligent to know that. But object storage is dumb here. It does not understand the type of file. That is why it has become a number one choice for a data storage, because object storage cannot understand or will not know the type of storage or type of data that you're storing on top of it. So customers can confidently bring their data onto AWS and they can store it here. That is an advantage that object storage brings in, right? Second thing is object storage does not have a file system. Third thing is object storage does not need an operating system to interface. For example, in case of EBS, Instant Store and EFS, all this will work with EC2 instances. You need minimum of EC2 instance to use the storage. In case of S3 and Glacier, because the nature of the storage is object, you do not need an interfacing operating system, right? And S3 and Glacier has two different use cases, right? S3 is for frequently accessed data. If you have a lot of data that you're accessing frequently in less than a few days, few weeks, perhaps you will continue to consume S3 for a frequently accessed data. If it is a non-frequently accessed data, a data that you don't want to delete, but you need to preserve it, but you want to archive it, you will use Glacier. Let me give you an example here, right? So Bernie, right? So let's say Bernie is 22 today, right? Maybe after 30 years from now, Bernie is 52. So Bernie, what he will do is he'll go to some company there and say, I want to become a vice president. I want to become a CEO of your company. You hire me. And he will give interview and that company will hire him. Now, as part of the hiring process, Bernie had to furnish all the 30 years of experience that he had, right? Plus his college mask cards, school mask cards, and other thing. So what Bernie's new company will do is they'll send the mask cards or the roll number to the college to find out whether Bernie actually graduated in the college. The college has two choices. College might think that Bernie after 30 years he will not come back for verification. They can delete the data, or the college should maintain the data because they don't know whether Bernie is alive or dead. Bernie might come back anytime. So when BGC happens after 30 years of his school or college, right, the college or the school, they have to maintain the data and they have to say this person has graduated from the college. If college does not maintain the data, then Bernie records are lost and Bernie mask cards are forged. And Bernie cannot afford to do this. Right? So what he will do is the college will do is college will maintain the records. Even after Bernie is long gone, Bernie's kids, his grandkids, if they want to go and investigate about Bernie, they can go back to college even after 100 years and the college will maintain Bernie's record. They know 30, 50, 100 years ago, Bernie graduated from this college. One example. Now, second example is, let's say Bernie has an account in his bank. He has lot of money is kept. Right? He's no more. Now, Bernie's grandchildren will come and claim that money. What if bank closes the account and eats that money? Literally doesn't happen. Right? They will maintain the data even when people are gone. Right? That is a second use case. Right? So there are a lot of things. CIBIL is another use case, right? If you have defaulted your cards, debit cards, credit cards, that data will also be captured in your CIBIL. Every time you apply for a credit report, they know when you have defaulted it. Nobody deletes this data, right? But will you be applying for credit cards alone every time? No, but whenever you do so, they are required to go back and check. So there are hundreds of use cases such as these that are required for you to do BGC from your data perspective, whether it's a bank account, your college, or anything. Right? Let's assume that I'm part of some company, I'm an employee, right? I was kicked out because of some sexual harassment or something. They threw me out of the company. Now after 15, 20 years, I'm going back to the same company to rejoin. So don't you think company will have a data and they can find out that I was a scam guy and I'm coming back, right? So Glacier is such service where it's a final resting place where you put all your data and you forget it. But you don't want to lose it, neither you want to see it. But as and when the audit comes or a request comes, you should be in a situation to pull up the data and furnish that data. Are we clear so far? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
Okay. Now we understood three types of storages are available. How do you fill them? Now you have pen drive, right? So how do you fill it? So how do you fill your storage? Right? So there are multiple channels that we can use, and today's lecture will be emphasizing on data migration. We will be talking on data migration, right? So there are multiple ways that we can bring our data from our on-premise or any other source. Now in this slide, the first option says Snowball, right? Snow Data Transport Family. So what is Snow Data Transport Family? All right, images. Something like this. So now, have you seen that ATM vehicles? If you go to that ATM to withdraw money, right? So there will be some ATM vehicles standing there. One guy will come outside the ATM. He will cross the road and he will stand across the road. Another guy will get out. He will go to the ATM door and stand. Two more guys will come out. They will be having that aluminum case, the big aluminum dabba filled with lot of money, right? And one guy will be sitting inside while he holding a gun and watching here and there who is a troublemaker. And these guys will go inside the ATM, fill money, and come back. You're getting my point, right? So there is a lot of security. Nobody can just simply walk in and then scare them off and take their briefcase and leave. It's not gonna happen that way, right? So why there's a lot of security? It's a protocol that they follow, and mostly these guys are not bank employees. Mostly these guys are not bank employees. Banks have contracted them to supply and fill money in ATMs. That's all they will do. And these guys are ex-military, ex-police, ex-security, etc. Right? Now, Amazon has also contracted the exact same guys. Right? The guys who carry money, Amazon has contracted them the exact same thing to move data also. So there's a service called Amazon Snowball, right? Which is designed to do offline data migration, right? So typically what happens, we think bank is a worst customer, right? Pharmaceutical is even more worst. Pharmaceutical customer will never do migration on the internet. They will think two times before sending an email because they're in the constant fear that somebody is intercepting their emails or somebody is intercepting their internet, right? So for example, if a drug company has developed a cancer formula, will they put it in the pen drive and share it across? Or will they put it in an email and send the chemistry of that medical composite and they will send? No, right? So they're very spectacle about that method and they do not share this detail over an internet, assuming that somebody might steal it, and they prefer an offline mode. So from that situation, right, you can order a service called Snowball. An ATM machine, ATM vehicle will come, but this time instead of bringing cash, they will bring this dabba here. And this dabba is capable of handling up to 70 terabytes of data, right? It has its own processor, memory, storage, power backup, and everything, right? So now, if you see the thicker shell, it is thick and it is thick for a purpose here. Now what happens is this is traveling, the snowball is traveling in your protected vehicle and a big truck comes and hits it. Or if there's an accident, or if there's a tapple that happens, right? So it can take that impact and nothing will happen to the briefcase. On an event of an accident, right? The briefcase will take that impact and nothing will happen to it. That is point number one. Right? Point number two is if there's a small size explosion, not a big one, okay? Big one means that ATM vehicle will blast into pieces. Chotus is a small one, right? Small explosion happens. This can withstand that explosion also, right? Bullet, other thing, right? Third thing is if you've seen in the movie when people are fighting for a briefcase, and this briefcase moves here and there, right? It can detect the stress that people are fighting for it, and then it can format the data also. So it's a pretty safe way to send your data offline to AWS. Now we could argue what if you have a data that is more than 70 terabytes, right? So there's a service called Snowmobile. Right, this is Snowmobile. They have taken the standard shipping container. They have taken the standard shipping container. They have installed the UPS, batteries, server, storage, networking, optic fiber cables, and everything, right? And then they will ship it to any country you want, any continent you want. They put it in a plane and fly. They put it on a train and send. They put it on a truck and send it to you, right? And if you have a lot of data, that you can board it in that truck and you can send it to Amazon. Right, so what this truck special is, when the truck is traveling, right, it has a GPS and sensors built into it, right? If you've seen in the movie, right, somebody is like lifting, helicopter will come and lift the whole thing and truck and go. If something like that happens where helicopter is coming and lifting the whole truck, right, it can detect the sensors that it is elevated above the ground to a certain feet, which is unacceptable, and it assumes that it is flying or somebody is trying to steal. It will format the data, or if it is takes a deviation, goes to some other road by course correction, it goes to some other road, right? It can alert the center and let them know that the driver is taking a different path. So they can track this down like Swiggy. If you order a food, how you can track your Swiggy order, you can also track this down, whether it's an ocean or it's a plane or is it on a train or is it on a bus, etc., which path it is taking, have it done any course corrections lately, all that changes you will get to know. Are we clear? Let's continue forward. The second option that you have is called storage gateway. This is nothing new. We've been doing it with a lot of things with backup software. So storage gateway is a backup software designed and developed by AWS for us, right? AWS believes that by introducing their own software, you don't have to go to market and buy a software that will cost you licenses, right? You don't have to go to market and buy a software that requires a licenses, right? That is one thing. Second thing is this is well integrated with Amazon, right? Third thing is any data that you bring in inside AWS, that is also free. So this tool comes extremely handy to do data migration from your on-premise to AWS, right? Though we cannot do Snowball in our training, but definitely we can. I will show you Storage Gateway Lab. The other option that you see is Direct Connect, right? In order to do Direct Connect, you need to own and operate a data center. Mostly what happens is large corporations want to build more data centers, but they'll be looking for cloud option and they want to integrate their existing data center with AWS and treat it as one. Perhaps if that is an approach an enterprise would like to take, then Direct Connect is an option that you have to accept. Right? Direct Connect we cannot do, right? We cannot do Direct Connect Lab, we cannot do Snowball Lab, but otherwise Storage Gateway Lab we can do. We can do third-party connector lab, where I'll demonstrate and show you how to use third-party tools with AWS. And then I will also demonstrate Transfer Accelerator, right? How do you send multiple files? How do you cut down into smaller pieces? How do you ensure that if your internet is interrupted, it pauses the download or upload and it'll start from there? All that I will cover here. And finally, Kinesis Firehose, right? This we cannot do. Mostly Kinesis Firehose is focused towards developer where they're building applications that collects photos, right? Or any other form of data, videos, clips, text messages, anything. It can collect data from various sources, right? IoT telemetric data, right? And bring it to AWS. So before we start working with the storage labs, right? We also need to understand identity and access management. Right, this is a very important step that we need to be aware of identity and access management. So let me bring up my Excel sheet. So what is IAM, guys? What is identity and access management? Active Directory is the name of a product. Okay. Okay, what is Active Directory?
Active Directory is simply like we collect the user name, which group he belong to, which domain he belong to. We give which permission we give to them.
Dude, that is the use case you're talking about.
Okay.
That is a use case you're talking about. Anybody else? What happened, guys? Okay, so when I say identity and access management, right, mostly it works on 4 criteria, and these are A, and A, right? Authentication, authorization, accounting, and audit. Authentication, authorization, accounting, and audit. Authentication, authorization, accounting, and audit. So when I say authentication, the authentication can happen through username and password. Can also happen with OTP if it is bank. Can also happen with biometric if it is Aadhaar card, or can also happen with swipe card when you're getting into office. So authentication can be in any form. 1A is authentication. Authorization. Can you see your friend's salary slip? Mostly no. But if you're sitting on an opposite side, such as HR or payroll guy, mostly you can see everybody's. So what are you authorized to see? Right? If you're authorized to see your leave, attendance, goals and objectives, right, project, you will do that, right? So authorization, or maybe in your office, right, certain floors or certain block your office, you will not author you do not have access to login or authorize to get into those environment, right, those places. Your ID card might not just work, right? So you're not authorized to get into those areas, right? So that would be another use case here, right? Authorization, right? Accounting, holding accounting or accountable, right? What time you came into office, what time you left, how long did you spend, where and all you've been within the office, right? How long did you work, what applications did you log in, right? For how long you were active on those applications. All that can be logged there, right, through accounting. And audit is basically pulling up a report, utilization report, and see and screw up your happiness. So every identity and access management works on this 4A principles, right? You might have heard of identity device management, identity theft management, identity security management. So it means that you're identity managing, right? Someone's identity is what you're managing it. Identity, somebody's identity, what this identity can access, and then you manage it. IAM, right? And there's several products that does IAM, right? Active Directory is one of those. You have LDAP, Samba 3, Samba 4, ForgeRock, and many more, right? And mostly what you do is with any IAM tool, you will first create group, then you give policies, right? And after policies, what you will do, you will add users, right? And then roles. Groups can be anything, right? Anybody, it could be DevOps group, DB group, DB admin, right? Infra architect, etc., that we're looking at. This can be anything, right? In your organization, you may use different terminologies. Perhaps use them while you're creating your project. Policies, right? What you can access, right? EC2, I have taught you, RDS, right? Route 53, right? Certificate manager, right? Users, you and me, right? What is roles? What is roles, guys?
User access levels, user what you can see, like write, read options.
That is in your traditional world, right? Tell me the purpose of role in AWS world. I'll give you 60 seconds. You guys can Google it and tell me. You're funny, Abbas. It is not a designation. All right, let me break it. right? So when I say AWS IAM roles, right, what basically indicates it is to connect one or more AWS services and bypassing the login details, right? How do you connect one or more AWS services and eliminates a need of exchanging credentials, right? That is where you will use role. In a real world, we will say I'm a Linux administrator, that is my role. I'm a CEO, that is my role, right? I'm a database administrator, I'm a DevOps guy. Those are my roles. But in AWS world, the purpose of role is to connect one or more AWS services, right? And we will see them in practical in today's lecture and subsequent lectures, right? So let me now start with IAM. So I'll go to services and then I'll go to IAM here. Right. So before we create an identity and access management, we have to create a URL first. So I'll click on customize, right? And it says, sorry. So if you see, this is how my URL would look like. It has some numbers, some URL and all. So I'll click on customize and I'll type Adnan Academy, the organization name, and I'll click on create a URL. So it has personalized my URL right now, and I don't have those account numbers anymore. I can copy this, and then instead of opening in the different tab or in the same browser, I will open this in incognito mode. Otherwise, it will conflict with my root login. Right, and this is the only customization that AWS will allow you to have. You cannot customize this further. Right, so now I need a username and password, but I have my organization URL ready. Now let me first go and create a group, because as part of the Excel discussion, we have to start from group. Group. I'm just going to remove this I have here, delete. All right. So I'm going to click on create a new group, and I'm going to call this infra architect. So infra architect group is what I'm going to call them. Next step, right? So I would like to give EC2 full access, right? And these are the accesses that I'm supposed to give. Then RDS, then Route 53. So instead of giving RDS full access, I will be giving RDS read only. I don't want them to fiddle with database, right? And then Route 53. Route 53 full access. Okay, this looks correct. And then I'll create a group. Now I just realized that I did not give one more access. I'll open my group again and go to permissions. Now I can detach the policies, I can drop the policies, I can also add new policies. Both I can do even after creating a group. I can go back here and I can select certificate manager, and certificate manager read only I'll give. And then I can click on attach. And you see here, I've got my policies. After creating a group and attaching our policies, we need to proceed to users. Because as part of the Excel sheet discussion, we have to set up our users here. Right? So users, add a user, right? Deepak, Abbas. Have I added you all? Okay, everyone are here. Right, so I have 4 users right now, right? You can add as many as you want, right? And these users will be are human users. They need access to console, so I'm gonna give them the console access, right? And then I'll come down and I'll probably set a password here. Something like this, welcome 123, right? And then I will force them to change the password after their first login, because every time you join a new company, right, somebody from a IT team will come and give you the details, right? Someone from your IT team will come and give you the details and say, buddy, this is your default details, you change it after your first login, right? So I'm giving that permission, and I have created my group. I will select that group here and then review. I have my details, and then I will click on create. So if you see here, I've created my users are available. I can download this and it will give me the details. Now, for example, I have to say that Bernie is working in UK, right? And the IT is in India. So they cannot reach out to him and give him the details. They might have to email him. So they'll click on send an email. So Amazon will draft an email for me and will give me all the necessary details that are required for me to send, right? And if you see here, I have my company details and I have my username, but the password is unavailable. Why do you think the password is not included in this email? Why sender cannot see? A sender only has set the password, right? So sender knows the password already. Read this line. So if you have lost your credit card or a debit card, if you've lost your credit or a debit card, you'll call up your bank and say, hey, Mr. Bank, I've lost my details. I've lost my card. Would you mind sending one more? The bank will say, okay, go ahead. We will send you a new one. And when they're sending a new card, they'll send you a pin also with the card, right? But instead of sending them together, they will send them with two separate couriers on two separate days to make sure that people or the courier guide could not take advantage of the details that are sent for you. Otherwise, wouldn't he be taking the card and use the PIN number and log in and then probably withdraw money? So likewise, you're increasing the surface area of the attacker. What if somebody is intercepting? You make their life much more easier, including password and username together. That means if you can break into one email, you can break into that employee's account. So therefore, you will send your password separately in a separate email, right? So I have Bernie here on the phone, so I don't have to email him. I will click on close here. So if you see, my 4 users have created, so let me log in. And then the password is as soon as I log in, it is asking me to change, and I don't have an option to skip this. So let me change. And if you see here, Bernie has logged into Adnan Academy. Now he wants to see the bills. He'll go and click on company's bill. So obviously he will say he does not have permission. Now he wants to go to S3 storage and see what and all is stored in the storage. Right, and it says access denied. Right, so whatever the access that you have given, only that he can do. Beyond that, he cannot do. Right. Now what Barney is doing is Barney and Abbas have become best friends now. And these two guys are exchanging credentials. Right? Let me go to Barney's account here. I'm going to click on Barney's account. I'm going to go to security credentials and I have a console password and I have this pencil icon. I'll click on pencil icon. There are three things that could happen to Barney. Either if the Barney is outside the project, if the Barney is taken out of the project, or if he's outside the company, you want to disable Barney's account, you can click on disable and his account will be disabled. He no longer can log into his account. That is the use case number one. Now the use case number two is Barney comes back and say, hey, I'm entering the right password, but for some reason it is saying wrong. I'm unable to log in. Can you reset it for me? Right? You can always custom generate a password and give it to him. Third thing is you can force them to change the password. Since these two guys are exchanging the password, all I have to do is come back and tick this option and then save it. So next time one of these guys logs into the system will force them to change it. Right? Now, in spite of that, right, in spite of disabling the account or resetting the password or forcing them to change it, right, these guys are still exchanging the password. So what would you like to do is you would like to introduce a second form of authentication, right? Multi-factor authentication by introducing an RSA token, right? So second form of authentication is what I want to set up so that in spite of exchanging the password, though they have the password, they cannot log in without an MFA, right? So how does an RSA MFA looks like? This is how an hardware token would look like, where you can integrate this token with the system. This will ensure that without the MFA, you cannot log into the system, right? So I'm pretty sure you do not have a hardware form of MFA sitting there at your home. Neither I have one. So we will try to accomplish this using a software version of it.
Sorry, Sohail. We also can use Google Authenticator for that.
Who?
Gautam here.
Google what?
We also Google Authenticator.
All right. So we have Google Authenticator here, right? So it is available
Yes.
in the Play Store, I suppose, and I think we have to download this on our phone.
Yes. Yes. Mobile.
All
We
right.
need to tag our mobile number to that.
Mm-hmm. All right then. So I already have this installed on my phone. So let me do this lab quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the option which says MFA, and then I'm going to select a virtual MFA here. Click on next and next step, right? Guys from India are already familiar with Paytm, right? We may mostly do payments by scanning a QR code, right? Mostly we do our payments scanning a QR code. So usually what happens is this QR code has an algorithm and few hidden details about that merchant when you make a payment, right? So likewise, this has an algorithm hidden which will activate MFA and will generate a random code for you, right? Now to simulate this example here, what I'm doing is I have opened my phone, right? I'm on this screen right now and I've clicked on begin, right? As soon as I've clicked, I've skipped this option. Now this is the screen that I am in and it is asking me to scan the QR code. The first option that you see is scan the barcode. So I'm gonna hit on scan the barcode. Now as soon as I have hit on barcode, right, I have my camera turned on and my camera is looking for something. It is looking for the QR code. So I'm scanning this QR code right now. As soon as I'm done scanning, it has generated a 6-digit PIN. Now the PIN will look like this, right? Mostly you will not have two entries. This represents two different accounts, but mostly you'll have one single entry here. It will generate a 6-digit PIN and there is a timer on the right hand side. And this timer elapses every 15 or 20 seconds, I guess. Before the timer elapses, you're required to enter the code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter my first code here. And then I'm waiting for the timer to elapse so that once the timer has elapsed, the code will change. All right, it is changed now. And I have activated my MFA and it says it is activated. Let us put this on the test. Right? I'm going to sign out this user. Let me sign back in. Barney. Now if you see, it is asking for that code that I have previously configured. Right, this is the code my phone has generated, and I will submit it, and this will log me in. What da, Gautam? Correct?
Yes.
All right. So
There are
by this,
multiple ways. Not only Google Authenticator, there are other apps also for this.
such as,
I don't recall this now because our project we gave some apps for the client as well. Google
okay,
Authenticator and some RSA tokens we gave, and there are other apps also for this. I'll get back when I open my laptop again. Update you.
okay, right. So you can also try, apart from Google Authenticator, you feel free to try with other applications. Microsoft Authenticator, Bernie is recommending. So please try that also and see how your lab goes. Try 2-3 different tools. Now, even in spite of this, Bernie and Abbas are exchanging their MFA codes. They're talking over a WhatsApp, or they're sending screenshots and they're exchanging the code. Now, what to do? What is the next measure? What is the next measure, guys? What is the next
I
thing?
don't think there is. I don't know whether there is other option for this. I think this is the last option. This is the most tightest option in IAM.
And after this,
I'm not sure whether there is any other thing beyond this.
there is a
I
thing
don't think
called
so. There are other.
there's a thing called termination. Right? Does do you know your friend's password?
No,
Does your
I don't
friend
know.
knows yours? Right, so nobody shares the password. It's an infosec breach. You're not allowed to discuss your salary. You're not allowed to share your credentials. If you do so, you're welcoming trouble and you'll be terminated. Are we clear so far?
Yes.
Now let me demonstrate a different kind of user. So let's set up a programmatical user here. Right, so programmatical user, a non-human user that we have, right? I'm going to call this storage something like this, and I'm going to select programmatical because it is not a human user where he does not need a console access. You cannot use this credentials to log into management console and do your work. Mostly this credentials are designed to interface with third-party applications so that the third-party software can talk to AWS. Right, so I'm going to click on programmatical access, permission, right? And then I'm gonna, instead of adding these users to the group, I'm gonna skip the group and directly give permission to this user. And then I'm gonna give 2 permissions here, S3, full access, and then Glacier. Glacier full access. Review, and then create user. So if you see on my screen, Amazon is throwing a message here. They're saying that this is the only time that you get to see these credentials. This is the only time that you get to see these credentials, post which you may have to reset it. You will not get the same credentials back. And when you plug these credentials with the software, you do not want to tamper or change it. Otherwise, the connectivity or the connection will break. right? So you have to click on download CSV and download this file. To interact with AWS, we need to use some third-party tools, and there are ample of third-party tools that exist, right? The couple of tools from Cloudberry Lab that we can use for our S3 and storage labs for Glacier, right? Service provider, products, right? For AWS Glacier. And if you see here, there's a Glacier tool that is available that you can download. And they're the Amazon partner. You can confidently use their tool for Glacier. There's one for S3 also that you can download it. This is one thing. Second thing is there are other websites also. This is another website, s3browser.com, where you can download the software, right? And there's also one more called Fast Glacier. And there are a host of tools that are available, and if you go to the internet, there are a lot of tools that exist on the internet that you can download it, right? So what I have done is to save time, I have already downloaded the tool and I have already installed it. So we can quickly launch the tool and start the configuration. So I'm going to go here and then I'm going to look for S3. S3 browser software is available here. Let me get rid of my old account here. Alright. Right. Now it is asking for the access key and secret key. I had already copied the secret key. I will enter here. No, I did not. Let me go back. Okay. Right. So I've added the account, and if you see here, right, there are ample amount of buckets that are available. Let me get rid of them. Oh. Okay, maybe the bucket is accessed by some other servers that I'm running. I will get rid of them later, right? So you have list of buckets that are available here. You can create as many as you want. You can click on create a new bucket, right? But you need to remember, if you have to try a couple of times before you can get your buckets, right? Now, for example, let's say we have our Barney here. Barney is our student in our class. Now, there might be a possibility that there could be a one more Barney in this world, and that Barney could also happen to have an AWS account, and that the Barney could have also taken your bucket. So if that guy has taken the bucket with the name of Barney, then our Barney will not get it. So let me try that. So I'm typing Barney here, and then I say I want this bucket in Mumbai. I'll try to create the new bucket. And if you see here, unable to perform this action, bucket already exists. That means some Barney somewhere, some part of the world has taken the bucket name, so you will not get it. So you need to try a couple of times before you get your name. Which year were you born, Barney? Hey, 1991, man. So right, Bernie 1991 I will try. Hopefully I should get it. All right, so I'm lucky to get that bucket. I've got that bucket here. Where did it go? And if you see here, I have Bernie 1991. Right? Now, likewise, if I go back to AWS Management Console, right, in my interface, I can also see the bucket gets created there. So that is the power of IAM Programmatical User. The IAM Programmatical User is so powerful that without logging into console, right, you can use a third-party tool and we can create buckets here. So I've gone to S3 here, and under my S3, I'm looking. And if you see here, Bernie 1991 is here. Right? I can also create it over here also, right? Right, and make this 1990, and I will make this bucket in, let's say, Singapore, and then I'm going to click on create a bucket. So because I've created, I can see both the buckets here, and if you see, one is in Mumbai and one is in Singapore. If I go back here and if I refresh it quickly, and you see here Bernie 1991 is getting created. So for the very first time, your storage administrators do not even need access to the console. They can do the full management of your creation bucket, storing data and everything through third-party utilities such as this. And I like this tool better than the Chrome browser itself, because Chrome browser hangs sometime, it crashes, right? And you cannot upload large files. So this third-party tool comes handy to do all that, right? Right. So what I'm going to do is in Bernie's bucket, right, I'm going to go and create multiple folders. I can say video, right, documents, right. So I'm creating this inside here, and if you see, they're getting created on here also, or I can also create it from here, something like logs, right? Logs are showing up here. If I go back and then if I refresh it, you will see logs here. Making sense? It is very interruptible. So let me upload some file here under video. Upload a file. Okay, I have some sample video that I'm uploading. So the file is uploaded right now. It's a 5 megabit file. If you go and check in my videos, the file is over here. And I can also upload something from here. Add a file, right? Desktop. Some photos I have, I can select it, and then I can click on upload. See how quick it was. That file also I got here. If I go back and refresh, the file is over here also. So it is very interruptible. You can either use this tool or you can either use this browser. It is up to you, right? Couple of exercises that we will do. We will do some sharing activities here. I've clicked onto the file. I've clicked on make public. Now if I go and access this URL, see what happens. It will stream instead of downloading. All right. So how do you know it is running from there? If you see here, this is my So if you see here, this is my file name and this is my folder name. Bernie 1991 is my bucket name, and this is running off of my S3. So like this, I can share images, videos, audio files, you name it, all contents you can share. Yeah, but you go ahead, tell me. Let's continue further. Right now, let's say that
Hey, can you hear me?
loud and clear, Abbas. Go ahead.
So I came across a scenario. Let me discuss it with you. There was a scenario to upload millions of pictures of like hotels in this in some buckets I created. So is there any way, shortest way, that I can upload these images because I had these URLs but not the physical images. If I had physical images, I could just place it here. But I had URLs.
See, how can you
So
place a first thing is, Abbas, physical images cannot be put on cloud. You have to virtualize them. Second thing is what
right.
you're saying. I did not even hear a word. I think you're writing. I can hear motorcycle voices and all.
Okay,
Right.
let
So
me
you might want to
get to a
come to a
site.
place where there's no background noise so that I can hear you, or post your question in the chat. I will answer.
Okay, is it better now? Is it better? Bit better now?
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Okay, so I had millions of URLs of images posted in different domains. I just
Okay.
wanted to upload those URLs images into our bucket.
Uh, yeah, you can.
So I wrote a script in Python,
Hmm.
but that was taking way too long. I mean, in one day it was just uploading thousands of images. That's it. So it took almost a week to get almost around 1 million images, more than a week.
The
So
first
is
thing
there
is
any
what.
shortest way?
See, first thing is you create a micro instance of EC2. Point number one. And point number two is run this script again on this EC2 instance. Right. So you don't have to wait for like weeks and all. It could happen in few hours. Right. And all the images will be downloaded. Millions of images will be downloaded into EC2. Right. And from EC2, we can move the data to S3 automatically. Or we can make a design in such a way that all these images will directly come and store to EC2 with the medium, sorry, to S3 with the medium of EC2. That can also be done.
Yeah, that will be possible, I think. Right.
Right. So I will demonstrate and show you in subsequent labs on how to connect your S3 to EC2. And I'll probably may not be able to download a million image, but I can download one or two images and I can show it to you. And then you are on your own after that.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. So let's
Also tell me
continue
that
then.
if one same name image has been already been updated, if we try to upload it again via any script or something, does it does it replace the image or update the
Yes,
image? What it does do?
it does a revision, it does a version control. So it will replace that image.
Okay, please go on now.
Yes. But instead of that, you can intelligently change the file name, right? As soon as you change the file name, the old image will also be retained and the new uploaded image will also be retained.
Yeah, but I don't want that to retain. I just want actual images to be uploaded. That's fine if it replaces.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. I think in this part we should configure everything in the script, not with AWS, right? We should work on the
Sorry, I
script for
missed
this,
you.
for renaming and everything. For renaming and overwriting everything, we should work on the script, not with AWS. I remember because we also working on the same thing. We have a backups in EC2, and we moved backups from EC to S3 bucket automatically. So it's nothing overwriting because it reads the file, what are the files in the folder, it just copy to the AWS and next it deleted from the EC2. So I think we need to work on the script if whether we need to overwrite or we need to delete or we need to rename and everything.
Yeah, you are right. Instead of taking seconds, even seconds to replace the image, we should handle it in our code. That's right. Agree.
Hey Abbas, have you come out for dinner or what, man? You're having party or what, yeah?
Sorry, Sohail. Actually, this time I leave from office and I take class while on the bus. Every day
Oh,
it
you're in the.
happens.
Okay, so you can see that in your bus, right?
Yes, I watched the video. I mean, this screen sharing on the mobile phone.
Hey, data is free or what, man? There, I heard the data is expensive there. Mobile data.
Yeah, there are a couple of packages that I subscribe because I have to use internet all the time.
Oh, you're too much on Facebook, I guess.
No, no, no. I don't use much these social networks, etc. I
Then
use
why
it
do you
for
need so
my
much of
work,
data then?
for my emails, office emails, clients' response, etc. These kind of emails, I do have to check. I need to be very responsive on that.
Okay. I hope you're on Tinder also.
Nice question.
Okay, let's continue then. So since everyone are awake now,
Yeah, please.
now what I want to do is, now the data that I have copied is in Mumbai data center. Now Bernie says, yeah, why Mumbai? My office is in Singapore, right? Can you give it to me in Singapore, right? Now instead of re-uploading this to Singapore, all I have to do is whatever file that I want. For example, I want this video. I can do cut, copy, paste, right? In this case, I will do copy. I'll go back here. I'll go to Bernie bucket 1990, go to action and paste it, right? And as soon as I paste it, the video will be published in Singapore region, right? So cut, copy, paste is that simple to move data from one region to another in AWS. And if I open this, see, I have my files here. Now Bernie says, no, yeah, you're doing the manual way. I cannot sit and copy paste manually. Every time I put a data in Mumbai bucket, it has to be replicated in Singapore. That is what he wants to do now, right? So let's do that then. We want to automatically replicate across region. Now Buzz said I have 1 million images that I want to keep in S3. So you want to keep it in closest data center possible. Let's say his target audience in Pakistan, right? And he has all his customers there. So the closest for him is India only, right? But just for a backup, he wants to have one more copy in Europe, right? If one data center goes down, he does not lose everything else. He has similar copies in Europe. So he can do that also. So let's demonstrate that, right? So go to properties, excuse me, management, and then there's an option called replication. So click on replication and I'm going to add a replication role here, enable versioning, and then I say entire bucket that I want to replicate. Next, right? So one bucket in Singapore I have selected it. I have also enabled the version. Now there are three options that you have, or rather four options from the storage perspective, right? Now Bernie is already having two copies because by default, if you select standard, by default, if you do not select any storage, Amazon will put your data into standard. Now, because it is putting the data onto standard, basically what is happening is Amazon is maintaining two copy on the faster drive. It will make the copy of the data into two and it will put it on a faster drive. That is standard, right? But if I say standard IA is infrequent access. That means it will still maintain two copies but put it in a slower drive, right? Now the third thing is, right, one zone IA. That means instead of maintaining two copy, now it will maintain one copy on the slower drive. Therefore, one zone IA. Or reduced redundancy means it is on one drive, one zone on a faster drive, right? So I already have two copies of that in Mumbai region with standard. So I don't want to maintain another two copy because it is expensive. So my replication should be in one availability zone because it is a backup of a backup. S3 itself is a backup storage for you. It is backup ka backup you're taking just in case. So you don't have to have a high availability there also. So I'll select one zone IA. Next, right? I will tell Amazon to create a role on my behalf. This will create one. Next, and then save. Now, if you see here, it says my destination bucket is Bernie 1990. And if you see, my Singapore bucket is here. And this is my Mumbai bucket. So this is my source and this is my destination. And the bucket policy says copy, means whatever the data it has, it does not cut from there, it just copies the data from here, right? So let me do an example here. I'm going to upload a file, add a file, Um, right. Something I'm gonna upload here. So I've uploaded the file. If you see the date, it is 14th July 9 o'clock, 9:29, 4.3, and my storage is standard here. My primary Mumbai storage is standard, right? But if I go back to Barney's other bucket, let me refresh this. And if you see here, I have the other bucket, other image also, and today's date, but it is in one zone IA. So by this way, I can automate replication also from one region to another region. Are we clear so far?
Yes, so if I delete anything from the first one, it will automatically delete, or it will be saving the same second one.
You can set it to both. You can set this to both, right? If you want to delete from there, it will want to delete it here. You can do that also. Or if you say only delete from here and don't delete from there, that can also be done.
Okay.
What else? Chalo guys, we'll pack up. I think it is too much for you for today to digest. You have to finish an IM lecture and S3 lecture. So let's pack up for today, right? And then we will meet up on your next class. Your next class is scheduled on Friday at 8 o'clock. Do you have any questions before we pack up your lecture?
Nothing lah, nothing.
Sohil, sorry, real-time project, I saw some IAM users which don't have group policy with expiry date. Set them as a root users.
I'm not understanding your question.
So can you help me to open IAM where you created four users? Sorry.
Stop smoking, yeah.
I'm not smoking. I just took off. I just had my dinner.
What did you eat, yeah?
Just nothing like bread and omelette. That's it. Bachelors, what can we do?
Yeah.
That
Hey,
too late
Gautam,
night.
where are you? Where are you in Singapore?
Bukit Botak.
Oh, nearby. I am just in Devan Garden. Yeah.
Hey, Bukit
Okay. See, we have access key edge here, right? For a storage service admin, there is tick mark today. In our real time, I see the days with the service policy, expired date, blah blah. There's some days like 300, nothing, something, something. Under access key edge.
That's all. You come and set it password required. That's all.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh. Version admin settings.
Right. So you say password expiry period to set to 30 days, 60 days, 365 days a year, right? And your password will be expired. So it just says password age 1 day here, right? If you give it some time here, it will come and update it here. That's all.
Okay.
Here, whatever you want, you set the age here if you want, right? Password expiration required administrator reset, whatever you want, you can check here. So all the permutations and combinations are available right here. Please change them accordingly for your users.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Joel.
Next, you're welcome, guys. Next question. All right then, guys. Lovely working with you today. Please complete your labs. I'm very adamant about labs. Complete your next lab and come back to me and send me the screenshots. Right? All right then, guys. Thank you for joining today's lecture. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.